Welcome back. We've heard from the Lib Dems and the SNP. The Greens are coming up. But now it's time for Nigel Farage. Let's take a quick look at the Brexit Party.
I will not rest until we get genuine Brexit for our country.
Welcome to the stage, Nigel Farage.
Once again, Nigel Farage has taken centre stage during this election campaign. This time leading Westminster's new kid on the block, the Brexit Party. Its main focus ensuring the UK leaves the EU. Mr Farage will lead his party into next month's election, but he will not personally stand to be an MP. The party indicated they'd stand in some 600 seats, but in an election U-turn last week, the Brexit Party said it wouldn't stand against the Tories in 317 Conservative-held seats. Instead, it's focusing its fight on winning seats in areas where Labour supporters voted to leave the EU. Nigel Farage, welcome. What do people get if they vote for the Brexit Party on December the 12th?
They get people who've come into politics not for careers, but done it because we actually want to get this referendum result delivered so that we're free of the European Union. And what they get is the one party that actually wants to change our political system. We think politics is broken, rotten, corrupt, not serving the people anymore. So we want real change to the voting system, to stop postal voting fraud, to get rid of the House of Lords and replace it with an upper chamber. We want to bring politics and democracy into the 21st century.
Was there anything you heard in the debate tonight between Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn that made you regret your decision to pull those candidates from all those Tory-held seats, 317
Well, look, it was a big decision. It was a big decision, and let's be frank about it, not everybody in the Brexit Party loved me doing it. I did it for two reasons. Firstly, because Boris Johnson changed direction and said he's going to go for a trade deal, along the Canada lines, not based on political alignment with the European Union. That was a big shift. I did it secondly because I could see that in the south of England, the southwest of England, where the Brexit Party takes predominantly Conservative votes, that it would have led to a lot of Liberal Democrats perhaps winning those seats, and that might have taken us nearer to having a second referendum. And it was a moment where I thought, well, what I've got to do actually here, I've got to put country before party. That's why I made that decision. And so we now focus our efforts on MPs who are Remainers, MPs who either want to cancel Brexit or force us to vote in a second referendum. So I think it was the right thing to do, but not easy.
So you didn't do it because President Trump said it would be a really good idea to do it?
No, I didn't do it for that reason. Absolutely not. I mean, there's no secret that President Trump is a Brexiteer. He is a friend of mine. He's been saying for months he thought Boris Johnson and I should work together. And actually, I've been trying to put together a Leave alliance, to say to the Conservatives and others, this issue is bigger than any political party. But unfortunately, it's not something the Conservatives wanted to do. I think if we had, we'd have got some senior Labour figures involved as well, and the alliance would have romped the election, but that didn't happen.
Have you spoken to President Trump since you made that announcement, that decision last week?
No, I haven't, actually. I last spoke to President Trump when he phoned in to LBC and I spoke to him. I have not spoken to him since. He is not behind this decision.
Would you wake up on December the 13th, blame yourself if your decision not to also remove candidates in Labour Leave areas leads ultimately to the UK staying in the EU? Would you blame yourself?
There's only one party that's put Brexit at risk, a party that says it believes in Brexit, that's put it at risk. That's the Conservative Party, by refusing to make any concessions at all. There are about 140 seats in this country that the Conservatives have never won and will never win. In the European elections a few months ago, this brand new party, the Brexit Party, topped the poll in every one of those seats. Now, in many of those, we will be the challenger to the incumbent Labour MP. Leave seats with Remain MPs facing the prospect, if they won the election, of a second referendum. And if the Conservatives cared about us becoming independent, free of the European Union, if it really mattered to them, they actually would have stood aside in some of those seats and let us be the challenger. They've put this at risk, not me.
So you wouldn't at all blame yourself? You don't think you missed a trick there, and you wouldn't think,
no,
why did I make that decision?
If the Brexit Party didn't exist, if there wasn't an electoral threat from the Brexit Party, I'm quite certain no meaningful Brexit of any kind would happen. So the plan is to get some Brexit voices into the House of Commons to hold Boris Johnson to his promises. You know, he's very good at making promises. He's not always quite so good at delivering.
OK, you're not standing yourself. Do you regret that decision?
No, I don't. I tried this before. Look, it's a brand new party. It's been going for 8 months. You know, it's not like Jeremy Corbyn standing in Islington with a massive majority. He's only got to visit there once during the campaign. I'm out every day round the United Kingdom supporting our candidates. I could not do that and fight a seat.
All right, away from Brexit, let's look at some of the other policies of the Brexit Party. You want to offer people more direct democracy.
Yes.
What does that mean? Does that mean more referendums?
If people want referendums, they should have the right to call them. I think that in many ways the Brexit referendum was liberating. The fact that Westminster and the media didn't for a moment think that Brexit would be the result shows you how out of touch London is with the rest of the country. And so I think two things. Firstly, if there is a big issue, if people want a referendum on it, they should be able to get signatures and call for it. But secondly, you see, we thought the last one was legally binding because the government sent a leaflet through our doors. All the party leaders said we will abide by the result, and they haven't done so. So I think, given that we've got that, given we also have a Supreme Court making political judgments without being accountable to anybody, we're going to have a written constitution that says any referendum like that actually is legally binding.
What sort of areas would you want referendums on, given 3 years on from the last one, we're in the state that we're in?
Well, unlike Nicola Sturgeon, I wouldn't want to rerun the Scottish referendum or rerun the Brexit referendum. A result of a referendum needs to be implemented first. But it's not for me to decide, it's for people to decide. You know, I'm suggesting that if 15 to 20% of the electorate sign a petition to say we want to have a say on this issue, they should be able to do so. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't mean lots of referendums. It wouldn't be like Switzerland with several every year, but once every few years, if Westminster was completely out of touch with public opinion, the public could call a vote. And I think that's a very good idea.
You want to cut the foreign aid budget in half. You want to use that money to spend on people in the UK. Where does that put our standing globally?
Well, what we've seen over the last few years is us consistently be the highest spender on foreign aid, doing it to meet arbitrary targets, spending it in ways that, when it comes to light, enrage many people in this country. I think trade, not aid, is where we should be heading. And I think that as part of the European Union, we've put these barriers up against African countries and many others from selling their produce to us, freed from the European Union. We can do more good to help Africa and the third world. Trade, not aid, I think that's the way forward.
If you think it's such a bad idea, foreign aid, why not get rid of it altogether then?
Well, I'm not saying all of it's badly spent, and you can see where some of it is spent, whether it's tackling malaria or whatever else it may be. But so many projects under foreign aid are spent in politically bad ways, money sent to corrupt regimes that seems to disappear. I think halving of it is the right thing. But look,
you don't think it would change our standing in the world?
No, I don't at all.
As a country that helps other countries in any kind of need.
We are going to help them far more than giving them money to assuage our consciences. We're going to reduce tariff barriers. We're going to stop raping and pillaging their fisheries. We're actually going to help these countries to make themselves richer and better. But you raise an interesting point, because in this campaign, we hear, 100 billion here, 200 billion there, vast amounts of money being promised by both the Labour and Conservative parties. And what we're saying is, look, we can, by halving the foreign aid budget, by not giving a penny more to the European Union, by getting rid of the HS2 project, which benefits very few people, we can actually show you £200 billion of money we can raise in the next 5 years.
I want to move on to your quickfire questions, if I may. You've mentioned you want to abolish the House of Lords. Does that mean you would never sit in it?
Do you know what? I've been bribed with becoming a peer and going quietly and being a good little boy.
Allegations of bribery, I should...
No, allegations. I've been offered this many times. I don't want to sit in the House of Lords. It doesn't work in the 21st century. Let's have no more political patronage.
What do you personally do to help the environment?
I have been for a few months now discussing an idea, and I'm very pleased to see that the other party leaders are now talking about it. When it comes to carbon dioxide, all we're talking about is cutting emissions. We're not talking about how it can be consumed. I want us to lead.
No, this isn't a party policy. What do you, Nigel Farage, do to help the environment?
I drive all over the country. I catch a lot of aeroplane flights every year. I am not a leading example, but I do think what the United Kingdom should do is go to the United Nations and let's start a global initiative. Let's start planting trees on a massive, massive scale.
Can't give me one thing that you do personally to help the environment.
Well, how can I? I catch aeroplanes, I drive cars.
OK, we'll move on. Is politics too toxic in 2019?
Yes, it is, and there's a very simple reason why. All through our history, as a democracy, if you lose an election, you may not like it, but you accept the result. It's called losers' consent. And for the first time in our history, the result of the referendum in 2016 has seen senior figures in British public life refusing to accept the result, insulting and abusing those who dared to vote for Brexit, and that's led to this.
Of course, there's insults on both sides since the referendum. Will we leave the EU in 2020?
We're leaving the EU. I think we will leave in 2020, but what I want to do is not just to leave Brexit in name only. Let's leave it properly. Let's be free of the institutions. It's going to liberate this country.
Is there a future for the Brexit Party after Brexit?
I think we're witnessing something historic. I think the Labour Party is beginning to cease to connect with working people all around this country. And I think the need for a radical political party that wants genuine reform and change, I think there's a big gap in the political market for it, yes.
But if Brexit happens, is there a need for the Brexit Party?
We'll have to rebrand it, won't we?
A final question, no surprises. Picture the scene. You've signed up for I'm a Celebrity. I'm not quite sure which year in the jungle. Which current political leader, there's been a few nominations for you tonight, a few votes. Which political leader would you take?
I've been asked onto I'm a Celebrity several times and said no. I think it would have to be Boris Johnson because he likes a drink and I could sit with him with a bottle or something and at length I could talk to him and perhaps I could find out what he really believes in.
Nigel Farage, thank you for joining me. Thank you.